You know, what if there was an ancient instruction manual for living a successful life? And I'm not talking about some abstract philosophy, but a really practical roadmap for getting through our, let's be honest, pretty messy modern world. Well, that's exactly what we're exploring today, the Book of Proverbs. I mean, it's a question we all face every single day, right? In our jobs, in our relationships, with our money, life is just this constant stream of decisions. And what's amazing is that it turns out this ancient text was written to be a guide for exactly those moments. So you should think of it less like a strict rule book and more like an apprenticeship, you know? An apprenticeship in what the book itself calls skillful living. The whole point isn't just to blindly follow instructions, it's about building up that moral muscle, that deep insight you need to get through all of life's complexities with real integrity and, yes, success. All right, so who actually wrote this incredible manual? Well, you might be surprised to find out it wasn't just one person sitting down at one point in time. Nope, its creation was actually a project that spanned centuries. Now, it's most famously linked to the super wise King Solomon, right? But the book is actually more like a greatest hits album of wisdom, something that was compiled over generations. It kicks off with Solomon's foundational sayings, for sure, but then, centuries later, scribes came along and added more. The final version even includes insights from some lesser-known sages, guys like Agur and Lemuel, which really makes it this true, multi-generational project. And the book lays out its mission statement right up front. This isn't about, just gathering a bunch of facts so you can win at trivia night. It's about forging character. The entire collection is designed to train people, especially the young, how to live with discipline, with integrity, and with real moral clarity. Okay, so all of this really practical advice. It's all built on one single foundational idea. It's the absolute starting point for everything else in the book. And that foundation is what the book calls the fear of the Lord. Now, it's super important we get this phrase right, because it's not about being terrified of God, not at all. It's about a deep, reverent awe, a profound respect for God's wisdom and the moral order of the universe. It's really a posture of humility. This whole idea is captured perfectly in one of its most famous lines. The book says that this humble posture of reverence is the beginning, the absolute non-negotiable starting point for any true knowledge. The book basically argues that without this foundation, everything else you try to learn is just built on sand. So how does the book actually teach this skillful living? Well, it uses a really powerful and actually pretty simple method: contrast. Over and over again, it presents us with a choice between two very, very different paths. See, on one side, you have the path of wisdom, and that's built on that fear of the Lord we just talked about. It's all about listening to instruction, and it leads to a stable, flourishing life. But then on the other side, you've got the path of folly. That's the path of the person who just rejects guidance and correction. And the book is really blunt about this. That path leads to ruin, period. And we see this contrast play out in a super practical area, our work. The wise person, they're described as diligent, and their hard work, it leads to provision. The fool, on the other hand, is often called the sluggard, basically a lazy person, and their inactivity, well, it predictably leads to poverty. It's presented as this simple, observable law of cause and effect. This same contrast applies so powerfully to our words, and what's really striking is just how much emphasis Proverbs puts on speech. The wise person gets it. They understand that self-control, honesty, and gentle words, they build trust and community. The fool, though, they use words like weapons. We're talking gossip, lies, angry outbursts, and they end up destroying their relationships and ultimately themselves. And this whole framework of wisdom versus folly gets applied to pretty much every area of life you can think of. The book talks about being generous with your money instead of greedy. It talks about choosing humility over destructive pride, being loyal to your friends, seeking justice for the poor, and being faithful in your marriage and to your family. I mean, it is incredibly comprehensive. You know, one of the coolest literary features of the book is that wisdom isn't just some abstract concept. It's actually personified as a character. They call her Woman Wisdom, and she's pictured standing in the public square, calling out to everybody, inviting them to choose her path, the path of life. Okay, so this is all a fascinating look at an ancient text, for sure. But let's be real, what does a 3,000-year-old collection of sayings have to do with our lives today? You know, lives filled with smartphones and deadlines. Why does any of this still matter? Well, the reason Proverbs is still so relevant is actually pretty simple. Human nature hasn't really changed. The challenges of pride, of laziness, of toxic speech, they're the same today as they were thousands of years ago. And the virtues it holds up, humility, diligence, integrity, are just as essential for a flourishing life in our digital world as they were back in an ancient city. Honestly, if you were to boil down the entire book's core message into just one thing, it might be this famous verse. It's a call to humility, really, a call to recognize that our own perspective is limited and that true wisdom comes from trusting in a source of goodness and order that's way beyond ourselves. At the end of the day, Proverbs is a collection of guiding principles that are meant to shape a life. So, as you go about your week, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Whether it comes from this book or from somewhere else entirely, what is the one piece of wisdom that guides your life?
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps us.